Happy Tuesday and welcome to Screen Junkies News. We are live here with our Avengers Infinity War review. I'm Roth Cornet. This is Danielle Radford.
Hello.
Hello. We have just seen the film, so it has washed over us like a tidal wave of superheroes. And we're here to give you our review fresh. This is a big movie, so there actually is a lot to think about and a lot to unpack. We'll say this. This is our spoiler-free review.
Zero spoilers.
Zero spoilers in the comments, no spoilers in the review itself. We will have a spoiler review going up this weekend so we can all discuss all of the things together. However, for now, this is a spoiler-free zone. Having said that, we are going to talk about the fact that it is a movie with characters and events. We won't say what happened exactly. We won't say exactly what those events are. But if you want to go in completely and totally fresh, like a little baby, maybe don't watch any more stuff and just go see it and then come back when you have. But again, spoiler free. So if you just want to hear, is it bad? Danielle?
It was good.
You're welcome. So I think the first thing that I really want to touch on is the fact that I don't think we can underscore enough how impressive of a feat that this is on the part of Marvel Studios, on the part of Kevin Feige, and the part of the Russo brothers. The expectations, the stakes are so high in this film. This is nearly 24 films in the making.
Yeah.
This is 10 years of storytelling in the making, and that both works in the film's favor, but it also adds a weight that very few other films have faced. So do they pull it off?
For me, I think they do. Like, this does feel like 10 years of storytelling, and it feels like these are characters that you have watched go through things, you've watched them grow, and this does feel like, yes, that is the sum of all of these experiences.
I think if you're a Marvel fan, look, this is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's a nearly 3-hour movie. It doesn't, we'll get into this a little bit, but in terms of the pacing, it actually, surprisingly, did not feel its length to me.
No.
You will want to use the restroom first, but it didn't feel its length. It's very well paced. It's very well balanced in terms of how it deals with the characters, but man, is it action-packed.
There is a lot of that, but just even saying that it's action-packed, like, that doesn't mean that there aren't still, like, you still do get those fantastic character moments, that character interaction, what you have come to expect from an Avengers movie or from a Marvel movie. You do get to see those, and you do get to see those fun new pairings of characters who you haven't seen interact, which is obviously one of the biggest things that people are anticipating about the movie.
Yes.
And so even saying that there is action and there's a lot happening and there are a lot of, like, action sequences, you do still get those great character moments.
Yeah, I mean, this really does feel like the pinnacle of what it's been building towards.
Yeah.
It feels like what it is. So it is a Marvel movie in every way that you have come to expect. There are quips. There is emotion. There is a depth to what they are doing, even though it's still in the package of what is ultimately a big, fun, summer blockbuster popcorn movie. They've earned the relationships at this point.
Yes.
And this is where I think that the 10 years in the making really pays off. Because there are so many characters to serve in this movie, it would be impossible to do that if you hadn't served them so well in all of the years before now. Because when there's a small moment between two characters that we know very well, whether it's that they don't understand each other because they're from two such different worlds, or whether it is because we already know what they mean to each other, you don't have to do much to say a lot.
Right. And that is one really nice thing, is that sometimes, especially when you're talking about an origin story or a new thing, so much of it is exposition, so much of it is like, and sometimes, like, you just want to sit down and hang out with your buds. Mm-hmm. And this is what this feels like. This feels like, you know, watching a TV show that you've loved for forever, and they're coming back and they're starting, you know, a new season or a season's ending, and it's like, you've already got those relationships, you have those in jokes, you understand the way that they relate to each other. I would say that, yes, it is a big blockbuster popcorn movie, but in terms of, like, the way that they managed to combine the action and the plot with the characters, and let's not be too shady, but the length, this to me feels like their Lord of the Rings, and it feels like they know it's their Lord of the Rings.
They know, and I think that they know that they've knocked it out of the park. You know, it feels like it. And look, we can't underscore also that this is setting up another movie. You know that it is, and it absolutely is. It is the first part in a two-parter, not officially, but yes. And so that does come into play a little bit. I want to talk about that a little later. But first, so does it feel like a Marvel movie? It feels like all of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, it feels like every Marvel movie at once. But not in the way that people do like those gross things at fast food chains where they're like, oh, I'm going to take like the McChicken and combine it with like a hamburger and all this other stuff. And you're like, ew, no, thank you. This definitely feels like more like going to a froyo place where you get to pick your own toppings.
It feels like something that Kevin Feige and his team and the Russos have thought about for years. Now, you guys know that the Russos are great at delivering on action. They're great at delivering on action. And here, one of the problems with a lot of the superhero movies that people have talked about quite a bit is the third act, which can feel remarkably similar, one to the other to the other. So these are multiple action sequences taking place at once, but because what is driving it for the most part is character, and what is driving it for the most part is the stakes of the world that they've set up, which I also want to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
These action sequences worked better for me than a lot of the third act action sequences, but if you don't like that, it's a lot of it in this movie, 3 hours of it. Do they handle Thanos? That was the biggest key going into it.
Yes.
And by the way, yes.
Yes. And he looks great. Thanos looks great.
Meaning the CGI.
Meaning the face, meaning all of the things. Obviously, Josh Brolin is an amazing actor. Do you get to see the performance through all of that? Yes, you absolutely, positively do. And I know that from some of the previews and some of like the early released footage, people were very scared about how Thanos looked. But like, you believe Thanos, and he is terrifying.
He is. And that was one of the biggest problems. It feels to me like over the last couple of years, they've gotten into story rooms and talked about the fact that at every movie we complain there's a villain problem. Marvel has a villain problem. They really, really wanted to solve it here. And I think they absolutely solved it with Black Panther.
Yes.
By giving the villain a motivation that we could sort of understand. And they haven't done it to the same degree here, but they've given him, and again, this is spoiler free, but a really fascinating motivation, one that was a surprise to me.
I agree.
I will say they clearly took a left turn from where they were going with him initially when he was initially introduced, but that was years and years ago now.
Yeah.
He is coming from a place that introduces a moral question. It's this very simple moral question and philosophical question, but it's a question. It's a superhero movie, so don't overthink it. I know. But it's a question that the movie is asking and answering the whole time. Is it a little on the nose? Sure, but that's okay. He's still talking about a thing where I'm like, okay, I understand where he's coming from,
right.
And that is a point of view that is not entirely invalid.
And that is, you know, when you talk about the best villains work because they truly, it's not just about world domination. It's about like, I am truly doing what I believe is what is necessary.
Yes.
And they believe in what they're doing more than just grasping for power, which is what a lot of the villains, when we talk about the villain problem, that's what the problem is like they're just grasping for power. And so they're just people who are there to be hit in the face, essentially.
And we don't care about them.
We don't care about them.
And they managed to do something really surprising in this movie. I knew it would be fun. I knew it would be funny. I knew I would care about these people because I've learned to care over them for a decade. I knew that it would look good and they would pull off the action sequences.
And it does look really good.
They invested a lot in the CGI in this film. What I didn't know is that they would introduce, like I said, a larger theme that really does pay off, and that they would nail Thanos. I really was happily impressed with what they did with this character.
Yeah,
how about you?
Very, very pleasantly surprised.
They give him some depth.
They do give him some depth, and he doesn't just feel like a large purple CGI dude.
Mm-hmm.
He very much feels real, and as real and grounded as that character can feel. Josh Brolin nails it. He does a fantastic job in this.
So one of the other questions that I think a lot of people would be asking is, do I have to have seen all 17 other movies? Kind of. Now, I'm going to be honest.
You already have, right?
Well, hi, I assume you have if you're watching this. But for the most part, I would say look, you could do a couple of catch-up videos if you missed some here and there.
We made one.
But here on Screen Junkies you can. However, I don't think that this film will have the weight or the impact, the desired impact on an audience if they're not already invested in this universe, because it is the culmination of this universe.
Yes.
It is the period. Well, it's the ... leading to the period on the end of the sentence. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure that you can get as much. Can you watch it? Yes, but I think that if you've only seen 3 Marvel movies, you'll be very confused.
Yeah, and I think that, and like any good movie, you'll be able to understand the relationships between the characters because they obviously do a great job in that. But to take it back to my Lord of the Rings, like, or it would be like watching like one of the Harry Potters, like out of sync. It's like you can watch it and you can still enjoy that movie, but you're going to miss out on the weight of what everything means.
And I will say that given, again, this is not getting into spoilers at all, but given the way that comics work, given the way that we know that this world works, that everything that was leading to this film, there is an inherent stakes problem, in the sense of there are stakes to things, and yet there also are not. Because as with comics, things are mutable.
I will say that the stakes in this do feel like they're more stakier than other ones. And I'm not gonna, this is not a spoiler because you can see that they do end up in Wakanda if you've ever seen any of the trailers. And something we were talking about on the ride back is that very often when you have any kind of scene where it takes place somewhere and it's like, oh great, now a car is flipped over, or oh great, now this thing has happened. And it's like, you see the awe of the destruction of it, but you don't feel the humanity in it because of how much we all fell in love with Wakanda. When it looks like things are about to go down there, you care about Wakanda.
I think you do. I think there's also a part of you just given the nature of the kind of world that we're in and how mutable reality can be and changeable it can. It's an inherent issue with comic books that the stakes aren't as high as they would be in another kind of narrative storytelling, because the end of that movie is the end of that story. And right. Versus
comics which go on.
This is the continuation of a story. So there's more to come. Having said that, I think that even given those inherent limitations, they pulled off stakes. There's one scene in particular between 2 characters that brings the emotional weight of it home, I thought, quite beautifully.
Absolutely.
And that's as much as we'll say about that for now. In total, I would say this. Look, if you love Marvel movies, if you are invested in this world, if you're all in on this, I think you're really going to love this movie. I think they pulled it off. They knocked it out of the park. And again, I can't underscore enough how difficult, how impressive of a filmmaking feat that this has been over the last 10 years. No one else has really been able to pull it off. I think in years to come, we will be talking about this and examining this phase in filmmaking and how this was done. So if you're all in on it, you're going to love this movie. If you don't like Marvel movies and you don't like those third acts and you sort of don't like what comic book movies have to offer, it's a lot of all of that.
Yeah.
So it's probably not the movie for you, but if it's not that movie for you, you're probably not watching this review. So my take on it is go see it. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to deliver everything that you want. It's going to leave the door open to some new things. I think that for what it is, it accomplished what it wanted to accomplish about as well as it could.
It gave me every kind of feeling, which is when you're there for 3 hours, you want to feel every kind of feeling. And I definitely did. And it's something that I know I've brought it up on the show before. I've talked about it with you. I feel very much when I watch things, like all I need is the music. I need to see how other characters are reacting to things. I need to care about the characters. And I was like, I was wiped after it in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And honestly, I did, like, even as it ended 3 hours later, I was like, I could do another 3 if you guys have that other one in your back pocket. Like,
give them a minute, Danielle.
No,
I gotta make the movie. No. They're like, we just did this one for you.
Look, I need more. I need more of Steve Rogers, Zach Morris highlights. Like, I need all of the things.
Well, I think you're gonna be getting all of the things, but we won't say which things which with characters, until our spoiler review, which we will have up this Saturday so we can all talk about the spoilers together. The long story short and endless at the same time is that's a recommendation for Infinity War from both of us. Look, it is exactly what, in my opinion, what the fans will want.
Yes.
Will it be contentious? Will there be some fans that disagree? Sure. And I look forward to reading about that on Twitter and in the comments below. But for now, I leave you with this. You've bought your ticket. You're going to be glad you did.
Yeah, it's everything that I wanted it to be.
All right. That's it for us. And we will see you next time here on Screen Junkies News.